I remember hearing a story somewhere. Might have been from a book or Instagram post. Can't really remember. It was about a caveman living a few thousand, maybe millions of years ago. He goes to a river to drink water, and in the reflection of the water, he sees his face. A face he hasn't seen in how many years? The caveman examines his face for a few moments before thinking to himself, "Wow, so that's what I look like." Then he moves on. This is impossible in the modern day. What is beauty? I mean, how do we define it? It's how good something looks, I suppose. How beautiful it is. It could be a human face. It could be a sunset. It could be an arrangement of patterns and colors on a painted canvas. The definition seems to vary entirely from case to case, depending on what it is that we're talking about. But what remains true in all those cases is that beauty is a sign of power, of status. It defines how people treat you, consciously or subconsciously. It defines your ranking in a social situation. And it has for thousands of years, even if the standards of beauty have completely deviated throughout time. It has been researched and claimed by many studies that more often than not, the average person will find another attractive if they have similar features to themselves. We find those who are like us as more beautiful than those who are not. And I guess that kind of made me think about the sort of narcissistic implications. I know that's a harsh word, but bear with me. Perhaps this is a way for our mind to reconcile with our own identity and appearance. We see someone who is like us, but in our minds better than us in terms of appearance. And we think to ourselves that that is within our grasp. With time and effort, it can be achieved. A sunset doesn't try to be beautiful. It just is. Could we ever reach that same mentality with people, with ourselves? I often find spiders very terrifying. Don't worry, I won't put up any pictures or anything. Whenever I see a spider, I have a sort of instinctual primal reaction to get as far away as possible. But as of lately, I've tried to slow my brain down and examine spiders for how they are. Examine the intricacies and beauty of their webbing patterns so ingrained into their psychology from birth. It's not appreciated by most people, including myself, as we don't have the will or the courage to delve deeper into it, to delve deeper into something different than what we're comfortable with. Let's go back to what I said at the beginning. How beauty is this sort of blanket term that can be used to describe so many various things. A sunset, a face, not this face, a spider's web, a piece of art. But the point stands that each of these things can be beautiful in their own way, without needing to be compared to one another. In fact, it seems a bit strange to compare them unless it's in an artistic sense. So, if the definition of beauty and what we see as beautiful can vary so greatly in this world, then why do we, as a collective, try to homogenize it? Try to homogenize what we see as beautiful? We set these expectations for people to follow, expectations that have shifted and molded throughout centuries. Beauty has never been the same throughout time, and there are historical records to prove this. But in the modern day, there seems to be a consensus surrounding what we find, or what we should find, as beautiful, especially with social media taking hold. That ties back to narcissism. We live in an era of self-obsession, selfishness, to an extent. Sorry if I sound like a boomer for a bit, but with the modern prevalence of the selfie, the art of capturing photos strictly focused on yourself is something that hasn't been prevalent in history through works of art. And with social media, we've been given a far greater margin to compare those pictures of ourselves with pictures of others from around the world. And there's this pressure on us to achieve a beauty beyond ourselves, to stand out on a global scale among our supposed peers. But this strays further and further away from acceptance. The world of beauty has essentially become weaponized, creating hostility between people rather than encouraging us to elevate one another for our differences. It's become commonplace to assign an arbitrary number to a stranger on the internet based on how well they live up to contemporary beauty standards, standards that have no apparent basis other than personal preference and what has been instilled within the members of our society. And that's what I find essentially so ridiculous about modern beauty and how we view it. Beauty has become so incredibly homogenized in the modern day. And that is essentially the root of a culture and a society that esteems and values those who fit into a certain mold and shuns those who deviate from it. A society of sameness, both physical and mental. Now, don't get me wrong. I am in no way against working to improve on yourself, improve on your appearance, in order to feel more confident and have more self-esteem. I just don't want you to feel pressured to live up to the physical expectations of a society that cannot even seem to pinpoint what beauty even is. Thank you.